Mosquitoes do not seem like scary things, other than they may cause you malaria. If that's all you know about mosquitoes, you don't know enough. Mosquitoes are the deadliest animals in the world. I mean, that sounds like a species of animal that should be kept in cages, yet they get to live close to us. Killing over 750,000 humans a year, mosquitoes are deadlier animals than any other wild animal you could be scared of. A lot of people have questioned what will happen if we eradicate the entire species and make them go extinct. Not like it's not something we can't do. Humans are pretty popular for sending animals into extinction. But what will happen if we do the same to mosquitoes? Welcome back everyone to Blazing Zone, where we discuss intriguing and interesting facts about animals. But before we proceed, please subscribe to the channel by clicking the red subscribe button to help us reach a good number of subscribers. Remember to click the notification bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. Mosquitoes cause a sheer number of deaths per year, and they put humans and even some animals at risk as vectors of certain diseases. There are over 3,000 species of mosquitoes, but only a minute number of them carry disease-causing agents. So if we are concerned about killing all the mosquitoes, we'd have to be a little specific with the species we are targeting. The mosquito species are the primary vectors of diseases like malaria, chikungunya, encephalitis, elephantiasis, yellow fever, dung fever, West Nile virus, and the Zika virus. These diseases collectively afflict over 700 million people and kill over 700,000 people per year. Given that mosquitoes live everywhere on the planet except the Antarctic, it would be really hard and impractical to kill all of them. There are an estimated 7 trillion mosquitoes in Alaska alone. Yes, Alaska. Global warming and ocean temperatures rising have made it so that mosquitoes thrive in these areas. So if they can survive in a place like Alaska, we best believe they are everywhere. And if there are 7 trillion mosquitoes in Alaska, how do we go about killing mosquitoes from the rest of the world? Here's how to. Humans have been eradicating species from the surface of the Earth with some of the indiscriminate activities we carry out, such as deforestation, poaching, urbanization, etc. However, this process usually takes decades of progressive deterioration to eventually mean catastrophe for a particular species. But in the process, they have mostly been robbed of a means of food, shelter, or procreation. But with mosquitoes, what options do we have? First, we can decide to introduce their biological enemies. If we decide to introduce several birds, bats, and other animals who eat mosquitoes into the mosquitoes, that would be apocalyptic for mosquitoes. However, that is easier said. It works in theory, but it's impractical. First, where would we get billions of birds and bats from? Secondly, we'd have messed with the ecology. And you can count on the newly introduced animals to cause more changes than just eradicating mosquitoes, so that's not going to work. Another way may be to cut off their reproduction. Mosquitoes suck blood from humans, usually not as a source of food, but to help their larvae survive. So if we could introduce materials into our blood that inhibits the process, hopefully we don't die trying to eradicate mosquitoes. So if that's not going to work, another thing is to try to introduce genetically modified mosquitoes into the ecosystem so that they mate with female mosquitoes to produce sterile offspring. Over years, their population will decrease till they are finally erased from the surface of the Earth. And then we have some relief. Something like this was done in 2015 by a British company called Oxitec. The company created a male A. aegypti mosquitoes with a self-limiting gene that can inhibit their cells from functioning normally. When the genetically modified mosquitoes mate with female mosquitoes, the self-limiting gene is passed at a very high percentage. The self-limiting genes basically cause offspring to die off before they become adults, because only adult mosquitoes are a problem to us. Another team of researchers from California experimented on killing the malaria-causing parasites in Anopheles mosquitoes before they get transmitted to humans, using modified genes that are passed on at a high percentage, and several other types of research in that regard. But does that sound like it works? Or we are only pretending to think it's a possible situation? Mosquitoes have been around on Earth probably before humans and have survived several centuries and generations. Trying to totally eradicate them might be nearly impossible unless we have another means. Humans have been killing mosquitoes with the use of insecticides, but these chemicals are harmful to Earth and man itself. So if we decide to eradicate all mosquitoes using this method, we might as well just go with them, because that would be an environmentally apocalyptic way to kill mosquitoes and man. Because killing all mosquitoes seems like an impractical thing to do, this is the part where we pretend to have eradicated all of them. So now we have eradicated all mosquitoes from the world. What do we think would be the situation? Are mosquitoes ecologically insignificant? Do they not contribute to the food chain? Well, some scientists say that mosquitoes do not contribute so much to the food chain, and if they were eradicated, the ecosystem would heal quickly, and other organisms would take up their place. However, you'd find scientists that argue that some species of mosquitoes play an important role in the ecosystem of certain places. Like in the Arctic of Canada and Russia, the mosquitoes around them fly in swarms and form a significant part of the biomass as they aid pollination and are a major source of food for migrating birds. Removing species like this could mean catastrophe for animals who depend on this biome to survive. And because we eradicated mosquitoes, other species of plants and animals who depend on them go extinct. And other species of plants and animals who depend on those species go extinct as well, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. That's as much havoc a slight change or imbalance in the ecosystem can cause. But humans are not particular about removing all mosquito species, just a few species that bite humans and are vectors of diseases. There are several types of research on how to totally eradicate mosquitoes, and who knows, an answer might be sitting in a lab somewhere. There's a controversy going on around using gene drive to totally eradicate them. Researchers are looking at introducing gene drives into malaria-carrying mosquito species to reduce the spread of the disease, either by gradually reducing their ability to breed or by limiting their ability to pass on the parasite. But it seems like another incomplete or ongoing research on that specific topic. The discussion around eradicating mosquitoes is shifting from "is it possible" to "what will be the consequences?" And that's where a lot of scientists are concerned. Eradicating the deadliest animals on Earth sounds like a righteous thing to do and saves hundreds of thousands of people from dying each year. But that would not be the end of What If. Because what if another takes its place? What if it means catastrophe for humans? What if the danger behind is much greater? If we do this time we'll be consciously eradicating a species of animal, and we have to be sure that we are making the right decision. Mosquitoes are bugs and they suck in all manner of sense. However, like that cliche goes, we may never know the value of what we have until we lose it. That would be all on this video. If you enjoy my content and would like to see more videos like this, kindly hit the like button as it motivates me to produce more video content. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and remember to click the notification bell to get notified whenever I drop a new video. Bye for now, see you in the next video.